Hello everyone, welcome back. So now we're gonna take a look at compositing this pass and tweaking it. And what I'd like to do is I'm not gonna rebuild all the beauty pass because I like this as it is, and I'm gonna separate or shuffle the AOVs that I'm interested in and either overlay them on top to add some color correction to the scene or use them to create something extra. So for now, what I want to do is I want to increase the amount of reflection a bit, and we can go and start shuffling each one of these, but it's a tedious process. So I have a script called auto shuffle. You can find this on Wikipedia, and I'm gonna press that and it finds all the AOVs and creates a shuffle node for each one of them. So it names it as well, and the name comes from this. So I have the P pass, the center light, the skylight, the depth for Z depth. I have a diffuse component. Emission is empty, I don't need that. I don't need the fog. GI, this is for global illumination. I have a mask, which is the information passed into the diffuse controller of the shader, and I exported a noise mask in case I wanted to use this to add some some color correction or anything like that. And I have an object position. This is different than the world position. It's relative to the objects, and this is a nice way to create gradients and things like that if we needed that. I have an occlusion. This comes by default with the shader with redshift. I have an ocean mask, and this is red and green for the cliffs and the ocean. I have the reflection pass, so I'm going to move this. I'm going to move all the passes that I'm interested in using. And let's see, this will probably need at some point. And the refraction. The specular is the reflection of the environment light or any light. The reflection pass is the reflection of any geometry in redshift over the ocean itself. So this is the in-between geometry reflection, and the specular is the reflection of any light. STMap, it didn't give me the right results. I'm going to delete it and we'll create something in Nuke. Okay, so I like this main pass. I don't want to change it too much. I only think that the rocks are too bright, so I'm going to use that mask, the ocean mask, to color correct them down a bit. So let's move this here. Let's create a dot, and let's start by messing around with these. So I'm going to put down a grade node. And I'm going to select the second input as mask, this ocean. I'm going to use the red channel. That's what where the rocks are. And I'm going to shuffle. I'm going to set the mask to red. RGBA dot red. And now if I grade this down, you see we're losing. We're grading down the rocks. So let's gain them down just a bit, something like that. And we're also affecting this. So what I'm gonna do is I want this anyway. I want to increase the intensity of this light. So I'm gonna move this down, press the merge button, merge the center light again, and now I'm adding it on top. I prefer not to rebuild the passes of the render and try to recreate everything. I just add things or remove things as I want to. So I'm going to increase this, and let's go for the refraction. So let's see if we can make this look more interesting. So I'm gonna plus the refraction again, and this is gonna make it super bright, but I don't want it to be like that. I want to gain it down, gain this new layer. Sorry, and gamma it down and then gain it up, so I get those nice spots. Maybe that's too much. Let's try 6. And now because we did strong gamma, the colors shifted quite a bit. So I'm going to use a hue shift and try to bring them back to the range they were at. Desaturate this a bit. And that's going to give me a nice glow. So obviously it's too strong. I'm going to reduce it. Okay, so what I'm missing here, I think it's pretty good. I like the lighting here, but what I'm missing is that nice gradient, and I'm gonna use the world position to get that mask. So if we look at the red, green, and blue, each one of them represents an axis. So the green here, let's put down a grade node. If I gain this down, you see it's moving up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tweak it so that I get this nice gradient and use that to grade the cliffs. So right now it's inverted. I want this mask to be the other way, so I'm gonna put down a grade node and invert this. Something like that. And let's look at this. And right now we're looking at the green channel only, but we have red, green, and blue, and I don't want that. So I'm going to use a shuffle node and shift everything that is in the green to all the other channels. Okay. And I think this mask is pretty good. So let's do this. I'm going to separate this mask to be only in the red area. So I'm going to use a shuffle node, another shuffle node, and shift all the red into the alpha channel, and then I'm going to use a merge node and say keep everything in this mask that is only present in this information. So here I'm going to set this to in. This is the inverse of out, and now we have those cliffs isolated and we have nice ramp. So I'm going to use a grade node and set this to RGBA, it doesn't matter, alpha or anything, and we can grain them down to get darker edge. And because we want to add some occlusion onto the ocean, we could use a blur like that and maybe stretch it along one axis. So let's try 10, maybe 15, and now we have this soft edge, and that's gonna, let's turn it off. You see it's adding this to the ocean as well, as if it's occluding the ocean as well. Maybe we can increase this to 25. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so let's see. I also like, yeah, we'll do this later with a vignette. I don't like how exposed this ocean on the side is, but we can use a vignette to grade this down. And I have a gizmo for that you can find in Wikipedia as well. So just a ramp. Creates a ramp in the viewer, and then we can scale it up. And let's scale it up even more. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Alright, I'll copy it from the original scene. Okay, so this is the vignette I wanted. Cool. So the next thing I want to do is, I think this ocean, I think the refraction overall is too strong, and if we wanted to separate that, it's going to be tricky to remove it. But what we can do is we can use a merge node. Doesn't matter which point we're at. So let's subtract it from this. So I'm gonna go to the first pass. Let's do this here. So this is the original render. I'm gonna say I want to subtract this information. So now it removed the alpha any refraction related information, and I'm gonna use this as a starting point. So this is the grading, this is adding the center, and this is grading the cliffs, and this is merging the new refraction again. But we don't want just this, we want to add the original refraction after we did the subtraction. So let's move. So here we removed it, and then we're gonna add it back using plus, and let's make sure we clump any negative values. I don't want any negative values, so not the maximum, I'm gonna clump the minimum to be 0. And now if we add this new input, it's getting confusing. Let's move this here, let's move this down. And I'm going to use a grade node. So we removed 100% of it, but I don't want to add 100%. I'm going to tune it down. So now I have full control over the alpha channel, over the refraction AUV. And we also have the second pass where we're adding these bright spots. And we can maybe gain them up now. Something like that. Okay, so the last thing, or not the last thing, but one thing I wanted to add is the fake foam on top of this, because I think it's very flat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the to this pass. Let's copy it here, and let's add dot. So what we're interested in is, again, the green channel. So I'm going to shuffle that. And what I'm interested in is a range where I isolate this. I'm going to forget about this for a second. I don't care about that. So let's move the minimum up. And I'm going to gain this down like that. And now we're isolating only the tiny bits of the ocean. And I'm going to copy, and I'm going to copy only the information that is in the ocean. So where's that mask? It's here. So let's put down a dot. And I'm going to put down a shuffle node. So I don't need to be looking at the green channel. I'm going to put down a shuffle node and isolate the ocean. And I'm going to say this area, I want to keep only these pixels where it's white here. So I'm going to use a merge node and set it to in. And now I have only this part. Now there is some there's this edge here, which I think there's a gap in the render, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to erode the pixels, and that should remove that edge. And this is going to give us our fake foam or fake cusp information. So let's add this pass and see how it looks. I'm going to use a merge node, and set it to plus, and now we're adding those white areas. And that's how we get the fake cusp information. Okay, cool. So let's grade it a bit to give it a blue tint, so it's not very different from the rest. And let's gain it down. I don't want it to be very, very visible. And that's pretty much it for this pass. Now what I'm gonna do is I have a node that I got from Wikipedia. It's called Quick Grade, and I'm gonna use this to grade the passes. Now this has a white balance. Let's set this to 0, leave 1, yeah, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and 0. And this is the same render, and I'm gonna tweak it so that we get some more interesting colors basically. So let's try. The first thing that we were doing is the shift, and what I'm looking for is to have more of these green tints, and so far this is looking much better. The information here, they are all present. It's just the visual, the illusion that when we go to this tone, it makes us see these colors a lot better. That's pretty much it. There's nothing crazy here. And I think these rocks are very saturated, but we'll tweak them later if we have to. And that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna mess this too much because we still have the atmosphere to add. I'm gonna desaturate the colors a bit. And I think the center light is too bright, or maybe it's too white. So let's give it a small tint. And we're adding that here. Remember, we're adding another copy on top. And because we're shifting the colors, we're losing that blue. So we need to somewhat compensate for it. So let's add a grade node, and let's multiply it like that. And that's pretty much it for this pass. The next one, we're gonna add the Atmo and the background. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit.